to another week where we're talking Cougar football with Coach Marty Hoffman and Coach Matt Johnson of the University of Minnesota Morris Cougars. Coming off a big homecoming win this week against Crown College. We'll start out with special teams. Drew Shipley, special team player of the week in the entire conference. Punted average 47.2 on Saturday and had a long of 71. Talk a little bit about Drew and what he's done for you this year.
Obviously, Drew's had so far, a tremendous year. His ability to do those things is a weapon. Being able to punt the ball like he's been able to, that is absolutely a flip the field type of weapon to have. And so he is a very valuable resource on that side. And obviously, again, with John Hoff, being able to get anywhere near the red zone, be able to try to attempt field goals. And obviously, we tried an extremely long one, which 51 yards I think we attempted, and we'll absolutely will do that again. John can make those. He struck the ball poorly, but at the time it's a chance for us to close the game out. Make it a 2-touchdown game. So, having that opportunity to be able to do that with John certainly helps as well. And then obviously he made a 37-yarder, which was big. So both those guys as specialists played a key role in that game.
Yep, and Drew's leading the league in punting, and John's leading the league in field goals. So, on the special team side of football for us, we seem to be doing fairly well in the conference. We'll move over to the offensive side of the ball and talk about Justin Maslowski. 8 yards a carry, 156 yards on the ground. Can you talk a little bit about his performance in the offense?
Yep, absolutely. I've been saying it from each one of these that we've done, that Justin's kind of the key to the machine up front in terms of offensively what we can do. It helps when you pop off for 70 on the first play from scrimmage. And that's on him, but it was on the offensive line too, and it was on a look that we were pretty sure, Crown was going to give us, so we took advantage of it. But Justin did a lot of good things. There was that long run, but then, he had 18 carries as well, so he made good reads. He kept the ball when he needed to keep it. He got to the pitch man when he needed to. But anytime you can average those type of numbers up front on the ground, it's going to make for an easier job, And he really kind of turned into, for the first time all year, a dual threat guy too, because he ran for the 150, but then he threw for 152. So it's one of those things where from a position they weren't able to just key on the run with us as well. They had to honor the pass game too. So it was good to finally see us click offensively on all cylinders. And I know we didn't throw up huge numbers in terms of points on the board, but we really controlled the line of scrimmage, and we dominated the ball in that capacity. It was good. That's what we needed.
Staying in the pass game a little bit, Taylor Hallman led the receivers with 61 yards and a long of 41. Talk a little bit about how he's coming along.
Yep. We moved Taylor outside, and we got him out of the slot, trying to find some way where we could utilize his skill set. It was good for us again. Only 2 catches, but when they're 2 big ones, that makes a big deal for us. The one crossing route he came that was 41 or 49 yards, that was a huge play in the game. It set up our second touchdown. And it put us into a position where we were up 14-7, heading at that point in time. So was good. Tay's been a great leader for us. He works tirelessly on the outside, and for that matter, is in his slot too. And it was just a good move. Another guy, Nate Sheridan, had I think 4 or 5 catches for us again, and Sherry's been a guy who's really performed in that slot capacity for us. Kalen Martin did some things. I'll say again, it was the first time all season that offensively we really clicked on a whole lot of different levels. So it was really positive moving forward into this week.
And going to the other side of the ball on defense, not a bad night for the Cougar defense as well. 10 minus yardage plays. Nate Galen 3.5 minus tackles for loss. Talk about how huge minus yardage plays are for the defense and a little bit how you were able to create those things.
Well, with an offense like Crown, of a team that wants to obviously establish the line of scrimmage, anytime you can get them behind the sticks and get them off schedule, I think that's huge. Anytime you can get them in second and long situations, it doesn't necessarily have to be a TFL, but certainly that helps. But second and 10, second and 9, second and 8, win on first down. That's really was our theme last week, and it'll be very similar this week, of course. But those certainly can change an offense's mindset, and it really helps defensively, because now you've made them a little bit more one-dimensional on a second and long situation, an obvious passing situation, things like that. So we're able to do those things, and certainly that's always starts up front, and then certainly, obviously, our backers got to do those things as well.
Staying with the defense a little bit, Nicholas Pano led the way in tackles with 10, talk a little bit about his play and how he was able to have such a great game.
Yeah, Nick, he's kind of stepped up here for us. Obviously, he's a young kid, freshman from Alaska, and he's kind of taken on a position of need for us that he's really been trying to pick up and learn, and his progression throughout camp and into the season, and just trying to continue to develop. He's done a nice job. He's a physical player. He's a smart player. He makes freshman mistakes, of course, but at the same time, he brings some energy, and he certainly brings that passion with him on the field. So, Nick certainly has started to really do a much better job. So we're excited about the future with him, but obviously we got a long way to go, of course. And again, we got to continue to develop depth at those outside backer positions.
Coming into this week, we go to Martin Luther. Last time the Cougs won down in Martin Luther was 2011. It's kind of been a tough place to play for us in the past. Talk a little bit about how we can make this time down there a little different.
It is a tough place to go into. The Knights play well at home. They always have versus us, but versus a lot of people. Even this year, again, they're 2-0 at home. It's their homecoming, and it's also their parents' night too. So their kids are obviously going to be ready to play. The biggest thing, and we've repped it from day one on both sides of the balls, it's our own personal execution. For us, in terms of seeing Martin Luther for a second time now, there shouldn't be any surprises in terms of what they're going to throw at us, either offensively or defensively, and from a special teams department as well. That it's more of we've got to take care of business. Looking back at when we played them for the season opener, 2 red zone turnovers, missed reads offensively. Defense actually played pretty well, but gave up that late drive to give up that final score. It was a situation that we were in that ball game throughout the whole thing, and just didn't do enough on our own end. So now it's going forward. That's what we need to do. Take care of the ball, do the stuff that's going to put us in a good position to win that ball game.
Staying with the theme of playing a team twice, which is a unique situation. Last time 14-7 for Martin Luther. The offense threw for 219 yards. Martin Luther has shored up their pass rush. They're second in the league in the UMAC. Yeah. And talk a little bit how to keep the same success you've had in the air against them and what you think might be different this time offensively.
Well, I think what might be different for us is we didn't run the ball at all hardly. We had 17 rushes for 25 yards the first time we played them, and that's not our style of football. I'm not saying we have to average 8 yards a carry, although I take it, but the reality is we need to move the ball on the ground a little bit. And Martin Luther's front 8 are stout. Their defensive line are really good ball players. Probably 2 or 3 of their best players on their team are up there. So we made a conscious effort in practice this week that the pass game stuff I think is going to be there for us. I really do. Justin needs to make good reads with the ball. Receivers need to stick routes. But again, we can't be one-dimensional, and that's not what we're going to be. So we're going to make a conscious effort to continue to run the football. And again, that falls on us. It's not that they didn't schematically beat us the first time through. We just didn't execute the way we needed to. So again, the pass game, I hope we throw for another 200 yards. That'd be great. But again, we're going to establish the ball on the ground and get that thing going. Because aside from just helping us, it also helps the defense too to keep them off the field a little bit.
Defensively, Martin Luther's third in the league in rushing. Pretty standard for them to be up towards the top of the league in rushing with their option attack. But this time around, I'm sure we'll see Nate Stein, who's averaging 82 yards on the ground per game. He's third in the league in rushing, and we really didn't see him. He didn't play against us in the first game. Talk about how you're going to control him and what kind of difference he may make in the game.
Yeah, he didn't play that first time. Certainly he's a good runner, one again of their many good backs. Wong is still the guy, as far as what they want to do offensively, as far as, again, being more of a scat back. Steven's certainly much more of a physical downhill type dude. Certainly both good ball players. The thing with Martin Luther, as I kind of look at him now the second time here, that they've been having more success with is really throwing the ball. They're certainly going to run their veer and they're going to run their option, and that's still home base for them. But they've had a lot of success against teams throwing the ball just kind of over the top. So we really have to be conscious and make sure that, again, we're stopping first and foremost the veer. But at the same time, we got to be great in the back end. We got to make sure that we are doing our job. I talked really a lot this week, and anytime you play these option teams, of course, it's always about responsibilities and being a dive player, cue player, those types of things. But certainly in the back end too, doing our job. And so I think the quarterback's thrown for 7 or 8 touchdowns. So he's he's having some success. They're putting up some good yards. They present a little bit different element with that. And that quarterback, he's still having himself a great year, but we got to put him in situations where he'll make a mistake, and he'll still maybe try to force the ball here and there. We got to make sure we capitalize on those. But Steen does add a different element to them, and certainly does add a little bit more potency to their option attack.
Martin Luther's coming off giving up 54 points to Westminster. Were there some things in the film that you saw, without giving away your game plan, obviously, that you liked, that you might take from that game and put into our offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Again, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to do what we do. Westminster's another place, as we learned from week 2. It's a tough place to go into and play. And when you're a northern school going south of those guys coming up here, that puts them in a bind. So yeah, there were some things there. They were hurt equally, I guess, in the pass game and the run game for the most part. There wasn't anything that really stood out to me. They gave up a special team score even as well. So it's one of those things where it kind of steamrolled, on them a little bit, and it got out of hand. But make no mistake, they're a good ball club. They're also somebody who they got 3 wins, on the season. So, I mean, not a ton that we're going to take from that necessarily, other than seeing kind of how their personnel lined up to different formations. But I'm a pretty big proponent of we are who we are, and do the stuff that we do well. So.
With that being said, we kind of talked about it being a unique situation, playing a team twice in the year. It was 14-7 in the last ball game. I think we'd all agree both teams have changed a little bit since the first meeting. The big difference in the game in the first one, red zone opportunities, they were 2 for 2. We were 1 for 3. It looks like we've kind of shored up our red zone. Offense, you want to talk a little bit about how we've done that and how we're different in the red zone than we were week 1?
Absolutely. How we've done that is we've made a conscious effort to understand how precious those possessions are. To have a guy like John Hoff, like Coach referenced, that it's invaluable. That we've got to be able to put points on the board. And not only were we 1 for 3, but we were 1 for 3 in those 2 we didn't score, and were both turnovers. We very possibly win that football game the first time through if we don't turn the ball over, if we just even put 3 on the board. That was a 7-7 ball game until 18 seconds left. So, again, how we've changed is we've just understood the security of the ball and the magnitude of those situations, and don't always want to settle for 3, even though we will take that, but we'd like to put some in like we did last week, So a lot of hard work is the answer to that question.
Defensively, looking at the first game as well, one of their touchdown drives had over 30 yards and penalties. We had the same thing happen against Crown on one of their touchdown drives, had 30 yards and penalties. How do we kind of correct that and move forward defensively?
Just continue to talk and emphasize discipline, and a lot of our penalties seem to be of the face mask variety, so making sure we're tackling right and not reaching for guys and not reaching up high, that we're tackling, in the target zone and doing those things. But yeah, obviously you can't beat yourself, and like you mentioned on those 2 drives, in the past couple games here, those will get you beat, and so defensively we got to make sure that we're disciplined and that we're doing the right things all the time, how it needs to be done, when it needs to be done, the right way. So just a conscious effort, even in practice, even continue to emphasize it on game film as well. But that's that. I want our guys to be aggressive. I want our guys to be physical, but obviously we got to do it the right way.
Coming off the big win this week, how do you carry that momentum into the second half of the season as we are now halfway through the season?
Yeah, the biggest thing is continuing to look at the mission at hand. We always talk about go 1-0 for that week. That's our job. Is we had that huge win, which I want to take this opportunity, both of us do, to say thanks to the fans, to the cheerleaders, to the alumni, to the parents, everybody who was there. Because playing at homecoming is a special event, but when you have an atmosphere like we did on last Saturday night, that's something these kids are going to remember forever. We will as coaches too. But you bask in that moment for a little while because you got to enjoy that victory, but then it's right back to work. We really haven't talked about it much in practice this week in terms of what went on last week, because that was great. We got our win, but now we've got another task, and that's to go 1-0 this week. So I think we want to carry that momentum forward in terms of the positiveness of it and the success of it. But the reality is you got to start taking Martin Luther and figuring out what the mission is with them too.
Well, we're looking forward to watching you guys compete on Saturday and complete the mission with the W down at Martin Luther with a 1 p.m. start. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Coach.